Last night at Anfield, Arne Slot Liverpool delivered a masterclass performance, stunning Real Madrid with a 2-0 victory in the UEFA Champions League. This dominant performance is just the latest chapter in Liverpool's phenomenal season so far. Currently sitting atop the Premier League with an impressive 8-point lead, the Reds boast the league's best defence, while only Tottenham Hotspur has managed to score more goals. And under Slot's leadership, Mo Salah has returned to dazzling form, showcasing his brilliance on the field. That said, join us as we dive into Liverpool's resurgence and explore the magic behind the unstoppable momentum. In building play from the back, the team typically maintains a 4-2-3-1 formation while in possession. However, as Liverpool advances the ball, McAllister, the left defensive midfielder, moves up to support the attack. But during the initial build-up phases, he usually remains deeper, providing a passing option for the goalkeeper or centre-backs and forming a double pivot with Gravenberch. The primary pattern of play to evade the opposition's pressing involves McAllister moving into the space between the left fullback and the winger. Once McAllister is in that space and in possession, he has several options. He can link up with the left fullback, initiate a switch of play to the opposite side, or deliver a vertical pass to the dropping striker. The number 10 in moments also plays a role during the deep build-up by dropping towards the left side in support of McAllister, creating an overload and dilemma for the opposition. It's important to note that Slot's Liverpool can adjust their build-up formation based on the opposition's pressing structure. Against a 4-4-2, Liverpool typically employs a flat back four to lure the press and wait for openings to advance. Alternatively, they use a back three against a single forward press, such as a 4-3-3. McAllister and Ryan Gravenberch are crucial for Slot's team, as McAllister positions himself behind the opposition's pressing line to overcome the pressure when in possession, while Gravenberch's capability to cover the expansive midfield during pressing is essential for the Reds. In the midfield transition, Liverpool under Slot emphasises quick vertical passing while the shape shifts to resemble more of a 4-3-3, with McAllister advancing to support the attack. They aim to find the eights between the lines and pass to the winger to advance in the final third and into chance creation. The fullbacks tend to remain deep as they do during the build-up to draw out the opposition wingers, creating space for the number 8s who tend to move into wider areas to lose their central markers and once again create a wide overload. In the attacking third, the focus is on high intensity, rapid exchanges, emphasising the width provided by the fullbacks and combination play in and around the box. Their attacking play showcases an advanced manipulation of space and player movement, especially between the wingers and the number 8s. This dynamic is evident when Liverpool advances into the final third, where a tactical interchange between the wingers and the number 8s is essential in breaking down the opposition's defensive setup. When the ball is played out wide to the wingers, Liverpool's attack starts to ramp up with forward runs that challenge the opposition's defence. They swiftly make forward runs behind the defence and send in early crosses before the opponent can arrange their defensive structure in the penalty area. And as we've seen, Mo Salah can be particularly dangerous with his in-swinging crosses. Up to this point, Liverpool haven't struggled to find the net. Aside from the match against Nottingham Forest at Anfield, they have scored in every game this season. This could be attributed more to the skill of the attackers than the team's tactics, but showcasing their talents has played a crucial role. While this analysis centres on Liverpool's play when they have possession, out of possession, Liverpool adopt a 4-2-4 formation to initiate the defensive actions when pressing high. This allows them to exert pressure across the pitch's width, aiming to disrupt the opponent's build-up and create turnovers in favourable positions. At times, they like to bait the opposition to play through the middle and use the opposition's number 6 as their pressing trigger. However, when or if the opponent successfully advances beyond the halfway line, Liverpool's strategy shifts considerably to tackle the threat. As the opponents enter their half, Liverpool quickly restructures into a 4-4-2 formation. The deeper midfielder, typically Ryan Gravenberch, serves as a barrier in front of the defence, intercepting any penetrating plays. Conversely, the more advanced midfielder pressures the opponents who get the ball in midfield, restricting their time and space to turn and generate play. This organised yet flexible defensive structure showcases Slot's tactical expertise. It balances aggression with caution, adapting to the game's flow and the opponent's movements. And that wraps up Arne Slot's brief tactical analysis. What we're going to do now is go into Football Manager and look at some examples and break down the tactic and the results. So here's a goal taken from a 6-0 win against Chelsea at Anfield, and what we're going to see here is some nice build-up play from Liverpool, and we're going to see some of the planned plays here as well, as we could start to see Dominic Szoboszlai shifting over towards that left-hand side and McAllister as well, forming a slight overload where a switch of play is also possible, but we don't switch play in this clip. Robertson has the ball, he plays it into McAllister. Dominic Szoboszlai just wants that ball, we play it into him, we lay it off to Gravenberch, and now we have worked the ball to the other side rather than a direct switch. Gravenberch has the ball, plays it into Salah. It's nice build-up play. It's going to be very, very patient. We aren't really going to rush anything here. Virgil van Dijk, the ball-playing defender, plays it into Robertson. Robertson at this time is part of the back three, so he's not moving to overlap or underlap too early. He's not overly aggressive. He's along the back line, and then as we start to progress with the ball, then he can move forward with the team. There's Darwin Núñez and Trent Alexander-Arnold. A brilliant thing about this Trent Alexander-Arnold movement is Mohamed Salah's positioning. He's so wide, stretching the opposition's back line, and that allows for the underlapping runs from either a number 8 but also a fullback. More often it's going to be Trent Alexander-Arnold in the system. He gets through, absolute finish, absolute finish. And you can see how we statistically dominated Chelsea. Darwin Núñez scoring a hat-trick, us having 24 shots at goal, 12 on target, a 3.36 XG with possession at 53% to Liverpool. Next clip I want to show you is from a 7-0 win against Brighton at Anfield, one better than that Chelsea game. Again, statistically dominating. I mean, we overperformed the XG by a lot. The XG was only at 2.71, and their possession numbers though, 62% to Liverpool. So here's another build-up goal where we can really see Liverpool's shape, but also their plan while they're in possession. Also notice the two slight different roles of the fullback. Trent Alexander-Arnold is slightly higher than Robertson. Again, Robertson, he's just going to chill with the back line, be in possession, and then he can progress as Liverpool progress with the ball. But Van Dijk has the ball. You can also see we've now shifted from a 4-2-3-1 to a somewhat of a 4-3-3 with Gravenberch as the single holding pivot, McAllister and Jones, the number 8s, joining the attacking line. So now we've got sort of a 3-2-5 shape about us. Here's Konate on the ball. Plays it out wide to Trent Alexander-Arnold. Salah is making his run. Jones and Salah actually occupying the same space there, which is, I would say that's more of Salah's trait rather than a tactical error there. But Salah gets the ball and absolutely smashes it at the far post. Salah returning to his best form. And again, it's a shape that we're going to see time and time again. Van Dijk has the ball. Trent Alexander-Arnold not moving too early this time, but look at the midfield three. Is Gravenberch sort of that single holding player, and then we've got two number 8s. Van Dijk finds one of them. The two 8s combine, and then Darwin Núñez just out wide, dribbling with the ball towards the box, plays it into McAllister. There's two players on the edge of the box. Gravenberch has it, smashes it in. That's the second goal. So what we haven't seen yet is Liverpool out of possession as Igor gets the ball. Notice Jones is initiating the press, though Darwin Núñez is the striker. That allows us to press with two players up the top there. And it is Jones putting some heavy pressure on Igor, Darwin Núñez now. So as you can see now, like I said in the analysis, Liverpool like to sort of win the ball and turn it over in a very good position, often baiting the opposition to play to their number 6 and using that number 6 as a trigger press. And you can see here, James Milner gets absolutely clamped in midfield. Gravenberch has the ball, lays it off to Diaz. He's going to use his brilliance in possession to run at the defence, whips it into Darwin Núñez. Gravenberch on the edge of the box. Lovely goal by Gravenberch once again. And even from goal kicks, you can see that intention to press with two. We've got a flat back four, Gravenberch and McAllister at the moment as our double pivot, Salah and Diaz covering the wider areas. Then we've got Jones and Núñez initiating the press. So we've got a very clear 4-2-4 structure or 4-4-2 structure about us right at this moment. We win the ball. This is straight from kickoff. We win the ball. There's Diaz, and then Liverpool go on their deadly counter-attacks and Jones slots it in. This goal, personally, is one of my favourite goals taken from a 5-0 win at home against Tottenham. I know a lot of these games are from home games. When you're at home, you do see a lot of the ball a lot of the time. So we can see the plan more often than not in those away games, especially against certain teams. If we're playing against a Nottingham Forest, of course, they might sit back, and that allows us to be in possession home or away. But this is a very nice goal taken from a game where, again, statistically dominated and possession-wise, we win with 56%. But it is the Mo Salah goal that I love. This highlight starts with Vicario, and don't take any notice of the personnel on the pitch. The game is in the 87th minute. I had to make changes and sort of save certain players' energy. So we win the ball goes into McAllister, he plays it out wide to Salah, and then we're going to sort of work the ball over to the left-hand side. But notice how we work the ball back to the right-hand side, where the right-hand side is now underloaded and Salah finds space. Here's Virgil van Dijk on the ball. He's going to play it out wide to Chiesa. We're sort of shifting Tottenham over to one side here. This is why it's going to be very key for Mo Salah to stay wide on the other side of the pitch. We play the ball into Gravenberch, into McAllister. Now look at Salah. That is the position we want to find Salah in. This is where he can be deadly. And of course, he's going to slot the ball from that position. And lastly, a 4-1 victory against Manchester City. Statistically dominated, maybe not the possession numbers, but it is Manchester City. In this game, we had to deal with some injuries as well, but here are Manchester City attempting to play out from the back. But just look how well Liverpool are structured and how well we put the pressure on them. Here's Rico Lewis. They had some slight injury problems as well, but Cody Gakpo wins the ball, plays it into Chiesa, into Endo, and it's a lovely finish by Endo, to be honest. Again, this highlight starts with Liverpool out of possession, Jack Grealish, and we're just going to force them back. And then once we force them back, we force Ederson into kicking it long. And this is where Liverpool can resume possession. We got Mo Salah on the ball. He's going to play it back. Now we're going to start a positional attack rather than a counter-attack. Konate in possession, plays it into Virgil van Dijk. Here we've got our 4-2-3-1 shape still about us, but McAllister is starting to progress up the pitch. Chiesa loses the ball. Poor pass on Chiesa, but look how we work out of possession. The counter press, Cody Gakpo gets the ball once again, luckily falls into him, and then he finishes it very, very well. Actually, just to show you, we don't just play pretty football at home, it can be away from home. Here we beat Manchester City 3-1 away in the, I don't want to give no spoilers, but it was in the Champions League. But look at us in possession, still the same plan. Of course, away from home against Manchester City, you're not going to be as dominant as you were at home, and scoring from a corner as well. Virgil van Dijk. One thing you can look out for against these top teams is your high line. Here's Bernardo Silva, plays it into Haaland. A perfect ball, a perfect run, a perfect move, and a perfect finish for Manchester City. But here's our last goal again. Off or out of possession, Darwin Núñez does what he does, chases every loose ball and finishes it off nicely. And you can see here, statistically, the game was a lot closer than the game at Anfield. But now let's break down the tactic. You've made it this far, surely you liked the video. If you liked the video, do me a huge favor and hit the like button, the thumbs up. You can hit subscribe as well, and check out the Patreon link in the description box below. But let's start creating this tactic by firstly getting the shape right. We're going to be using a 4-2-3-1. We can start with the player role. So in goal for Alisson, we're going to use a sweeper keeper on defensive duty. And then for the Trent Alexander-Arnold role, I actually had a fullback but an automatic, so he's just gonna adjust his mentality according to the team's mentality. At left back, we've got Andrew Robertson. We're going to put a fullback on defense. This is going to make sense or more sense later on, or I can actually just explain it now. So the mentality is going to be on attacking. If I click on Andrew Robertson now, you're going to see that his mentality is on balance. So he's not cautious or too defensive minded as we saw in the clips. He's just going to stay with the back line. But as Liverpool start to attack, start to ramp up their mentality and intensity, you're going to see Robertson slightly or slowly move forward, which is also helped, of course, by the underlapping runs. In the back line, big Virgil van Dijk, he's going to be the only ball playing defender in this back line, and we're just going to give Konate the simple job of being a central defender, and hopefully he can be composed enough just to lay it off short plays. In midfield, we're going to use a defensive midfielder for the Ryan Gravenberch role. He's just going to hold his position in midfield, while we're going to have McAllister as our segundo volante, getting further forward and pushing up higher into that channel. I will show you some player roles once we have completed the team instructions as well. Moving into the attack line, Mo Salah, he's going to be on attack. Luis Diaz is going to be a winger on support, so both of them are going to be having that winger role. Like I said in the analysis, it's important that they hold their width. Now, I did try with an inside forward and an inverted winger and just ask them to simply hold their width. So you can go to the inside forward here and then ask him to stay wider, which he did a lot of the times during the build-up. But when it gets to that crucial moment in the final third, he starts to move in between the fullback and the centre back. But I just needed him to stay wider, especially to get those in-swinging crosses crosses in. So for me, it was important to use a winger on attack, but you could possibly get better results or better stats by using an inside forward if you like. For Dominic Szoboszlai, we're using the advanced playmaker role, and the main reason for that is not so he can be the main creator in attack, but it's when we are building out play. You're going to see that he becomes attracted to the ball. So if we're building down the left-hand side, we can effectively create an overload on the left-hand side as the playmaker starts to drop and look to receive the ball again, as we saw in the analysis. Lastly, up top, we are using a complete forward on support. Now we've got Darwin Núñez and we've got Diogo Jota. Both are slight different players, slight different profiles. I feel Jota is more aware of his teammates and his movements, and he adjusts his movements slightly according to that. But then Darwin Núñez, it's just a handful. He likes to pin defenders as well. Against Real Madrid last night, actually, we saw Darwin Núñez in some deeper areas, so which is going to use a supportive duty. You can use a pressing forward to sort of more resemble Darwin Núñez, or a complete forward on support to more resemble a Diogo Jota. So those are the player roles. Now for the team instructions, the attacking width is going to be fairly narrow and the passing directness is going to be on shorter. While in the final third, we're going to send in low crosses. I just feel that generates better chances, but we're also going to hit those early crosses in, like I mentioned in the analysis. Now, one thing Slot has done really well is get the best out of Mo Salah. So in the approach play, we're just going to simply focus our play down the right-hand side. The left-hand side may not be as effective as the right-hand side, simply because here we've got a fullback on defend, but also our winger is more supporting than penetrating. On the right-hand side, we've got a bit of penetration, so we can focus our attacks down that side. In transition, we're simply going to counter press and we're going to counter with the goalkeeper not taking too many risks, just distributing the ball to the centre backs. And lastly, out of possession, we've got the high press, the much higher defensive line, trigger press much more often, prevent the short goalkeeper distribution and step up. Now, initially, I did have my trigger press at more often. What I like doing during the season, especially if playing well, is constantly checking the stats, because sometimes you can just be overperforming, and then as teams, or as your team stops overperforming, other teams can start getting results against you. Now, there was two things that sort of raised my eyebrows. Was the opposition passes per defensive action, so that sort of measures your pressing. Also, the high intensity sprints, those were fairly low when I had my trigger press on more often. Now, there was two options. I could either increase my tempos to slightly higher, or I can increase the press. For me, I chose to increase the trigger press over the tempo, only because it sort of affected our style of play too much. I didn't want my players making their decisions too quickly. So for an example, building up from the back, I didn't want Virgil van Dijk to take his risk more quickly. In midfield, I didn't want McAllister to run further forward quickly. Same as Trent. I wanted them to be a part of the build-up, and then as we move into the final third, then the attack intensifies. So with the completed version, we can go through the player instructions. The fullback on defend is sitting more narrow. Trent Alexander-Arnold, he's taking more risks, crossing more often and sitting more narrow. Konate, nothing. Van Dijk, nothing. The defensive midfielder on support, he's going to hold his position, so he's just holding his position in midfield, but he can dribble more with the ball as well. So again, another reason why that tempo isn't on higher than my defensive midfielder. When he wants to dribble more, he's going to make that decision fairly quickly, rather than making a more timely decision. For the Segundo Volante, he's getting further forward, moving into the channels. The advanced playmaker is not doing anything. The left winger, crossing from the byline, getting further forward. Mo Salah is going to cut inside, shoot more often. Lastly, up top, the complete forward does nothing. But also, when you are playing against the bigger teams, this is what I done. I changed my attacking midfielder to an attacking midfielder on support. The focus plays were removed, but that doesn't really do anything. I mean, you could just keep it on if you like, and that is pretty much it. That is pretty much the only tweak that I made. So this tactic in the download folder will come with 2 tactics. Here's a disclaimer: I didn't play every single game. Again, I played around the first 10 to 15 games, but I did play those big games like Arsenal, like Manchester City. I like to play those games because I can control those games better, in my opinion. But also set pieces, I have my own set pieces. You can choose to use them if you want to, or don't if you don't. I just call them my set pieces. They're not really my set pieces. It's sort of an open secret, the OP set piece routine. So that's the tactics all wrapped up. Now we can finally look at the results and see how well Arne Slot did, because I am Arne Slot in Football Manager. Before diving into the Liverpool results, I did go to Arne Slot's former team. No, not the good one. We went to AZ, that's still good. AZ is still good. That's a bit disrespectful, but I just wanted to play a handful of games to see how well they can do. They are predicted to finish 4th. This is a tactic I wouldn't suggest you using if you're an underdog. Please be a good team. Don't come in my comment section and tell me the tactic's not working while you're trying it at Crystal Palace. It is designed for a very good team. RZ are currently sitting on top after 11 games played, winning 9. One of those games beating Ajax 3-1 at home. But most of us are not interested in these results. It is the Liverpool results we want to see. In the Premier League, Liverpool finished the season unbeaten, losing 0, drawing 6 and winning 32 of their 38 games. Now, I'm going to repeat the disclaimer. I didn't play every single game, probably not even half. I played the first 10 to 15 games to make sure the tactic was well planned out, but also I played against those bigger teams. So Manchester City, Chelsea, Arsenal, those sort of teams, I can control those games better than the assistant manager. So I played those games, so I can't take complete credit of going unbeaten because there's a possibility you would lose to a Brighton or a Nottingham Forest away from home. But looking at the average rating, Mo Salah with the highest average rating, joint top with Erling Haaland with 7.54, scoring 20 goals. You can see Virgil van Dijk there. Once again, shout out to the set pieces. Another reason why the results were so good. We also won the Champions League. I probably should have led with that. We won the Champions League, beating Inter Milan 4-1 in the final. Inter Milan not having many chances. There is also a tactical tweak against a back three. What I like to do is stretch my attacking width. We are operating on fairly narrow, but against a very narrow formation, sometimes that might not be the best plan. But here's our first goal against Inter Milan. Starting out of possession, Pavard loses the ball because of our off the ball work. Once again, Diaz taking the ball past the fullback and slotting it in, or the right side of centre back. The second goal came from a wide free kick. Darwin Núñez plays it into Diaz, some combination play, and McAllister, who scored quite a few free kicks. I'm surprised by his free kick taken. Here is one of those corner routines, the near post. We already know what it is. And then the fourth goal came from a counter-attack. Jones carrying the team forward. McAllister playing a lovely through ball into Darwin Núñez. We don't care about Inter Milan's consolation goal. In the FA Cup, we got knocked out in the 5th round. Sort of disappointing considering we got knocked out at home as well. And lastly, in the Carabao Cup final, we beat Tottenham 2-1 away from home. Here we have Endo on the ball. Trent Alexander-Arnold getting further forward here at basically right wing now. A good tackle by Udogie there, but Trent wins the ball back, puts the ball into the box, and Darwin Núñez at the far post with a header. And then our second goal, here's Mo Salah in space again, a 1v1. Udogie does not want to be in that position, he whips it in. That is a dangerous whip into Darwin Núñez. Statistically, we scored the most goals with 123, had the most shots 4, came second with the fewest shots against us, but we had the highest amount of clean sheets with 25 and conceding the fewest of 14. And you can sort of see here, look at the high intensity sprints. Still, we're not in the top 7. So despite me tweaking my tactic to make it more intensified, we finished around 9th, which is still decent. But as we know, Liverpool, they are sort of known for their high intensity movements. The opposition passes per defensive actions, as you can see, got a lot better after making that defensive tweak as well. We rose to 7th, so we don't know where we would have been positioned had we started with that defensive plan. Chances created were top, but final thirded passes 4 per game. We're sitting in 5th, and I think that's slightly down to the tempo, with the tempo being in the middle. Despite in real life, Liverpool are quite high with their progressive passes. Possessions 1 per game, you can see how well we were off the ball, and then with the expected goals as well, very high. One of the tasks was to get the best out of Mo Salah. I felt we did pretty well doing that. 39 games or 39 starts, 9 sub appearances, 27 goals, 13 assists, and an average rating of 7.43. The striker is a fairly important role. You can look at Darwin Núñez and sort of mold your striker around him as well. He scored 12 goals in 23 starts. I don't think Darwin Núñez is actually the perfect complete forward, but he did really well in the system, maybe because of the players around him. And lastly, before I go, and what I didn't show you, we brought in 2 players. I wanted to have fun. I had 150-60 million in the bank, and it hit January. I thought, why not just have fun with these tactical tests as well? What would you do if you was the Liverpool manager? Though Darwin Núñez done well in the test, I did bring in Benjamin Sesko. We just activated his release clause for £43 million. A very promising striker. He scored 8 goals in 14 starts. But also Nico Gonzalez, a deep lying playmaker. Again, Gravenberch and McAllister are fairly fine, but I just wanted to add more physical ability in our team. Alexis McAllister, as we can see, his physical attributes aren't great, especially not for a top team. So I did go with Nico Gonzalez, who the game describes as a world-class midfielder. But unfortunately, that wraps up today's video. This tactic was requested by many people, an updated version of Arne Slot's tactic. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Hopefully as well, you guys test it out. If not, take some ideas from it. It's still a very, very good tactic. I'll see you guys soon. Make sure you stay safe. Make sure you stay blessed. I'll see you in a jiffy. Good night, good night, good night, good morning. Beep.